What if I told you that those really awkward hymns in church, in mass, when you're there and you're like, sing a new song unto the, and all that stuff, and you cringe in your seat, you're like, ugh. What if I told you that the very people who put those out are making a killing off the business? And those very people are supporting same-sex marriage and abortion. You'd be like, come on, like that's so extreme. Well, you know what? There is a researcher in the pro-life community who is a huge thorn in the side of anybody on the other side, including when the bishops go on the other side. His name is Michael Hitchborn, and he's probably one of the best researchers out there. And he just gets into the weeds on things, and he finds the most unbelievable stuff, so that when the bishops go after him and say, he's wrong, he's lying, he just comes out with the proof, and it's real embarrassing. Well, he's done a deep dive into what he calls the hymnal industrial complex, or, it's a takeoff of the military industrial complex, which is a huge boondoggle. And what he's found is truly incredible. Listen to this first claim.
Lesbians, radical leftist ideologues, and donors to pro-abortion organizations control the music at your parish, and they're getting filthy rich doing it.
So, Michael, thank you so much for joining us on this LSNTV special.
Thanks for having me on, John Henry. It's a pleasure.
Big claims right away with the lesbians, and that they are doing this stuff. This is unreal, but you, as always, back up everything you say. So I want to go to this first clip. This is a Mrs. Cronin. Tell us about her before we get into it.
Well, it's actually Ms. Cronin. She claims to be married, although her partner is also a female, so it's not really a marriage. But she started off as the head of an entity called One License. One License is a joint-owned company that is owned by both GIA Publications and OCP, which is the Oregon Catholic Press. Those are the two largest Catholic hymnal publishers in the United States. They created One License so that anytime anybody sings one of these songs in their hymnals, and they need to replicate the music, the sheet music, and all that kind of stuff, or if they broadcast online, they have to get a license for it. And then they have to renew these licenses every single year. So Brenna Cronin is the head, or had been the head, of One License. And while she was there, she was married to a woman, She was actively promoting LGBT nonsense, and she even defied the orders of Cardinal George in Chicago when she was at a mass where a bunch of members of an organization called Aglow, which is a LGBT activist group, they were all wearing rainbow sashes. And Cardinal George specifically withheld communion from anybody who was wearing those rainbow sashes from going up to receive. And so Brenna, after receiving communion, went back into line, received in the hand, took our precious Lord back to one of these activists and gave him communion, which is sacrilegious and directly against the orders of Cardinal George. She's a horrible, horrible person.
I said how you make sometimes these totally outlandish claims and everybody goes, no way, that's impossible. That's way the heck over the top. And people would, at this point, make that charge of you. No, come on, she's a lesbian. Give me a break. Do you know she's a lesbian? And I'm sure she's raising a child with her new lesbian partner. And come on, with the Holy Communion thing, give me a break. Who's going to go and a homosexual activist gets refused, and then she goes up a second time, gets it for him? Come on. But then you come out with the proof. Watch this.
Meet Brenna Horn Cronin, the Executive General Manager of School Music License at GIA Publications and a yoga instructor who specializes in leading yoga and mindfulness for spiritual communities. Horn Cronin is also an LGBTQ+ activist living in a so-called same-sex marriage where the two are raising a child. In 2013, during a mass in Chicago, she openly defied Cardinal Francis George. When a homosexual activist wearing a rainbow sash was denied communion, Horn-Cronin, who was not a Eucharistic minister, but singing in the choir at the time, took it upon herself to give the Eucharist to that man.
During communion, I was singing in the choir, and the choir had already gone to receive communion, and one of my brothers, the member of my community, who is a full and equal member of the body of Christ, was denied communion. So I got back in line, and I brought him communion, as I would for anybody else.
Can you tell me your name?
Brenna Cronin.
What Brenna Horn-Cronin did was openly defy church discipline, disregard Cardinal George's authority, and place herself above the laws of the church. Before taking her current role, she also played a key part in controlling Catholic music as the executive general manager of One License, a licensing outfit that double dips by charging parishes to use the hymns they already bought, all while sidelining the church's sacred music.
So, Michael, if everybody's socks aren't blown off at this point, first of all, incredible work. I mean, I can't believe you found all this stuff. It's insane. But unfortunately, the story gets worse. So you also dig into this guy who is the head of this company, who is raking in all the cash and in charge of giving us these really horrific tunes. Let me just, so that people know what the tunes are, I'm just going to do this really quick. We can't play them for you because they're licensed and you'd have to do that. But you know what? I can sing a kind of rendition, and I know you will cringe not only at my singing, but also as you remember these various tunes when played in your parish, and you sit there and you go, "Oh, ow, why?" It's not like they're terrible just in and of themselves. They could be fine around a campfire if you like that kind of thing. But some of them have bad theology as well. So we're going to review a little bit of that right now. Summoned by the God who made us rich in our diversity. That's from Sing a New Church by Michelle Scherlitza inside the hymnal. And there's another one. These are cringy. See in this space our fears and our dreamings brought here to you by the light of this day, and so on and so forth. It's just so cringy. It's not even funny. I'll give you a couple more. Yahweh's people dance for joy. Oh, come before the Lord and play for him on glad tambourines and blah, 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 blah. It's the stuff that really this hymnal is made of. It's just sad. It's sad that we have to listen to this in Mass. If that's your bag, please listen to it. Not in the Mass. The Mass is made for good theology. And by the way, we're not only saying here that it should be Gregorian chant. That should have the pride of place. That's true from Catholic teaching. But also, we can have hymns in the vernacular. So, for instance, hymns like Lift High the Cross, really good example. Beautiful, but it's theologically accurate. It also, I'd say, has some kind of a tune or a sound to the music that helps you pray rather than the opposite. So there's that. Tell us, Michael, this Alec fella, the head of this thing, what's his name and what does he do?
So Alec Harris is the current president of GIA Publications. Now, you have to have a little bit of background to understand the dynamic here.
Before I continue, are you enjoying this video? Do you appreciate the news at LifeSite News? Well, then please consider supporting us. At LifeSite News, we're not just reporting the news, we're changing lives every day. And our content equips people to stand for life, faith, family, and freedom in a world desperate for hope. But freedom isn't free. It costs to bring you life-changing content. If you believe in this mission, then join us. Go to lifesitenews.com/donate and be part of the fight. Because truth changes lives and freedom is worth fighting for.
GIA Publications was originally founded in 1941 as the Gregorian Institute of America. The purpose was to spread polyphony and Gregorian chant throughout the church. But in 1965, after the close of the Second Vatican Council, it fell on hard times because the Mass started to change, and then the opening of vernacular songs and hymns and the change in liturgical music had started to take place. So Gregorian Institute of America having fallen on hard times, was purchased by a man named Ed Harris. Ed Harris bought it in 1967. In 1968, he changed the name to GIA Publications to kind of camouflage its original intended purpose. And as it turns out, Ed Harris is not only a non-Christian, he's Jewish. He's non-Christian. He's not Catholic. He's not Christian. He's something else entirely. So he then died, and his son, Alec Harris, took over. Alec is now in charge of GIA Publications, and he's a part of a Jewish Reform community that has taken he's not just a member of it. He's actually been on the board of this thing. He was very heavily involved and influential in this organization. It's taken very pro positions in favor of abortion, in favor of LGBTQ equality, so-called, in favor of transgenderism and gender non-conforming people. When you start to look at the shift of everything within GIA Publications, all we can say is what our Lord said, that an enemy hath done this. That's the only conclusion we can come to.
And again, this sounds too impossible to believe, but of course, you've got all the receipts. Watch.
Enter Alec Harris, longtime president of GIA Publications. For nearly 40 years, he has dictated the music found in Catholic hymnals, ensuring a steady stream of revenue through perpetual licensing fees. His company doesn't just profit from hymnal sales, but from a system that locks parishes into endless payments. Alec Harris's influence extends beyond the walls of GIA. His wife, Carolina Song, actively lobbies for pro-abortion legislation. In 2023, she lobbied for Illinois Senate Bill 1909, which targeted pro-life pregnancy centers with fines up to $50,000. Records further reveal that in 2014, Carolina Song and Alec Harris were listed as in-kind donors to the Chicago Foundation for Women, CFW, a supporter of Planned Parenthood. Records also show Song donated to CFW again in 2015. The pattern is undeniable. She provides both financial and legislative support for abortion, while her husband profits from Catholic parish music. She also actively promotes LGBTQ+ activism, a stance Harris undoubtedly shares, as seen in their joint appearance on social media with a pride flag overlay. She also mocks national symbols to promote her ideology, sharing an image of the Statue of Liberty kissing Lady Justice with the gay marriage equal sign in the background, a grotesque distortion of American icons. Other figures at GIA Publications also openly promote the same progressive agenda.
And it's amazing, Michael, you had this thing about his wife too, who's a whole activist on the other side. This is craziness. But let's get to the final chapter here on the licensing fees. What is that? And what is, like, how is this done? And they're rolling in cash and mostly have all these parishes locked in. So you're wondering, why are you having this in the first place? But then you realize not only are you having this, but you're having to pay through the nose for it. It's horrible. Go ahead.
One license, as I mentioned earlier, is co-owned between OCP, Oregon Catholic Press, and GIA Publications. Now, when GIA is selling a book, they're selling, say 200 copies of Breaking Bread at $18.24 a piece, which incurs a cost of $3,648 per year to each parish that requires 200 copies. That price, of course, goes up the more people you have. Well, when you purchase a book, you expect that you would be able to say, hey, I own the book. I can use the book to my own purposes. But no, you buy the book. Now, in order to perform the music, you have to have a license. So you're then paying on top of that. And of course, the way one license works is if you have more members of your congregation or more people attending your church per week, well, you pay more. So the greater capacity that you have at church, you now have to pay to get a license to use the music that is published in the hymnals that you already purchased. So you're kind of double dipping there. And on top of this, because liturgical music is considered a part of the process of the liturgy. It's incorporated into the liturgy itself. It's now really and truly a pay to pray proposition.
Unbelievable. Michael, what can people do to get out of this mess?
Well, we should go back to the music that the church has always had, because there's no license to it. It's in the public domain. It belongs to the church. The church shouldn't be paying for things that belong to her already. So we should be going back to the patrimony that we were granted through the history of the church. And I would recommend people get rid of OCP, get rid of GIA publications and anything affiliated with it, and start purchasing things like the Adoremus hymnal or the St. Michael hymnal. Go to Corpus Christi Watershed and really learn what the strength and treasury of the music that we have as part of our inheritance. It belongs to us, so let's reclaim it.
If you want to check out more of Michael's work, go to Lepanto Institute. He's there, and he's got all his incredible research. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us. Get out there, folks. Get rid of this nonsense from your parish and tell your priest you'll make a contribution to get the good hymnals, and they won't have to pay the licensing fees. God bless you, Michael. Thank you so much. Hi everyone, this is John Henry Weston for LifeSite News. We hope you found this video insightful. For more content like this, be sure to check out the links in the description below. You can also follow us on social media to stay updated on the latest news concerning life, faith, family, and freedom. Thanks for watching, and may God bless you.